Deuteronomy 29:29 speaks to a profound truth about the relationship between God and humanity. There are things that God, in his infinite wisdom, chooses to keep hidden from us. This verse highlights the inherent boundary between the Creator and his creation, reminding us that while we are made in God's image and capable of great understanding, there is a realm of divine knowledge that remains beyond our grasp. God, who has existed from everlasting to everlasting, possesses secrets and knowledge that our mortal minds cannot begin to fathom. We struggle to comprehend the concept of eternity, both in the past and the future. It's hard for us to imagine what God was doing before the creation of the heavens and the earth, before the existence of angels like Michael and Gabriel, and before the formation of the universe as we know it. As we learn more about the vastness of the cosmos through scientific discoveries, it raises questions about the purpose and role of these countless celestial bodies in God's cosmic plan. We wonder how God perceives time and space, concepts that define our entire existence, but may hold little meaning for a being who exists outside these bounds. Most of us find it challenging to truly comprehend God in all his beauty, holiness, and purity. Our limited understanding falls short of grasping the immense gap between our human nature and the righteousness of God. No one has ever seen God and lived, for he dwells in a light that is beyond our reach, a place our eyes cannot perceive and our minds cannot comprehend. The fact that God has secrets is deeply connected to his nature as an all-knowing being. Just as we cannot know every thought or feeling of another person, we are unable to fully access or understand the mind of God. This reality serves as a humbling reminder of our limitations and an invitation to trust in God's greater wisdom and his plans for the universe. Accepting that some things are beyond our understanding is essential for spiritual growth. It teaches us to rely on faith and trust in God's goodness and sovereign will. This trust is not blind, but is based on the recognition of God's faithfulness throughout history and his revealed word in Scripture. What God chooses to reveal to us is for our benefit, meant to guide, teach, and support us. The things that are revealed belong to us and our children forever, so that we may follow and obey his teachings. This principle emphasizes the importance of focusing on what God has made known to us, rather than getting caught up in speculating about the secrets he keeps. In our walk with God, we must learn to embrace the mystery and accept that there are aspects of his nature and plans that we may never fully understand. This doesn't mean we should stop seeking to know him better, but rather that we should approach our relationship with God with humility, reverence, and a willingness to trust in his wisdom. As we navigate life's challenges and uncertainties, we can find comfort in the knowledge that God is in control and that he has a purpose for everything, even if we don't always understand it. By leaning on his revealed truth and trusting in his love and guidance, we can find peace and strength to face whatever lies ahead. In a world that often demands answers and explanations for everything, embracing the concept of God's secrets can be a powerful testament to our faith. It demonstrates our willingness to surrender our need for control and to trust in a God who is far greater and wiser than we could ever imagine. Ultimately, the secret things belong to the Lord our God, and that is okay. Our role is to focus on living out the truths he has revealed to us, loving him and others, and walking in obedience to his word. As we do this, we can find joy and purpose in our lives, knowing that we are a part of God's grand plan, even if we don't always understand every detail. In the end, the mystery of God's secrets invites us into a deeper, more intimate relationship with him. It calls us to lean into his love, to trust in his goodness, and to find rest in the knowledge that he holds all things together, even the things we cannot see or comprehend. As we embrace this truth, we can experience the peace and freedom that comes from walking with a God who is always faithful, always loving, and always in control. The laws and commands that God gave to Moses, which were meant to be passed down for generations, are a key part of what God has revealed to humans. These laws are intended to help people live a life focused on obeying and being devoted to God. This is really important for how people deal with all the mysteries and unknowns in life. In this world, people often want to be in control and understand everything. So the idea that there are some things only God can know is hard for people to accept. It goes against human pride and the desire to be the master of everything. But it's also reassuring in a way. It means that even though life is messy and confusing, God is still in charge of it all, even the parts we can't see or fully get our heads around. Human pride really struggles with this. It hates the fact that we're not the ones running the show. This world has a lot of evil people who spend their lives doing terrible, unthinkable things. And in their arrogance, they think they're the ones in control, since God lets them use their power in this world for now. But one day, the all-knowing God is going to judge them for it. There are people today who honestly see themselves as gods. They think they're so high and mighty. But really, they're just sacks of dust in the end. There's only one true God. And this single verse, Deuteronomy 29:29, shows how great and powerful this one true God is. He's the one who's actually in control and knows everything. We're living in a time where people act like they have God's authority over others. But this verse reminds us that there's a higher power they'll have to face one day. A God who sees and knows it all. Human pride despises the truth that we're not on top, that we're not in control. That's why people have always tried to find ways to cure death, or put it off, or avoid it completely. But death still has a 100% success rate. When human pride comes up against the reality that there's a God beyond our control, it can't stand it. Eternity is coming for every single one of us. It's unstoppable and inevitable. There are things happening that are way beyond what we can understand or wrap our minds around. Eternity is on its way. And I don't think we really grasp what eternity means, do you? I don't think we can truly comprehend it. After all, we only know and live in time. As Hendrik Willem van Loon put it, way up north in a land called Svithjod, there's this huge mountain, 100 miles long and 100 miles tall, and once every 1,000 years, a tiny bird comes to the mountain to sharpen its beak. And when that bird has completely worn down the mountain with its beak, only a single day of eternity will have passed. This vivid picture Van Loon paints of eternity, with the little bird grinding away at the mountain, really drives home how vast and mind-boggling eternity is. It's an idea so immense that it's beyond our normal understanding and experience of time. The image of that giant mountain being slowly worn away until it's gone, and that only being one day of eternity, makes it clear how infinite God is compared to us finite humans. When we connect this to Deuteronomy 29:29, which talks about the secret things that belong to God, this metaphor hammers home the point that there are parts of God's world and His plans that are just beyond what we can grasp. It's like how the bird slowly wears down the mountain. Our understanding of God's eternal nature gets a little clearer bit by bit, but we'll never completely get it. We humans are in a tough spot. On one hand, we want to be in charge and know it all. It's just part of our nature to want to be the top dog and have everything figured out. But on the other hand, deep down most of us know that we're pretty small in the grand scheme of things. We know there's a lot out there that's bigger than us. So when we're faced with something like Deuteronomy 29:29, which straight up tells us, hey, there's some stuff that only God gets to know, it's a hard pill to swallow. Our pride doesn't like that one bit. We want to be able to say, well, if God knows, then I should be able to know too. But that's not how it works. And if we're being real, that's actually kind of comforting in a weird way, because life can be pretty dang chaotic and confusing a lot of the time. There's a lot of messed up stuff that happens that we can't make sense of. So the idea that God's got it all under control, even the parts we can't see or understand, is sort of reassuring. It's like, okay, I may not have all the answers, but at least somebody does. At least there's some order to this craziness. Even if I can't always see it, it takes some of the pressure off, you know? We don't have to have it all figured out. But man, do we hate to admit that. Especially those folks out there who think they're hot stuff, who go around acting like they're untouchable. They do all kinds of messed up evil things, thinking they'll never have to face any consequences. They get drunk on their own power, thinking they call the shots. But the truth is, they're not in control. Not really. They're just putting on a show, playing pretend. Because at the end of the day, there's only one real God running things. And He sees everything they're doing. He knows all about it. And one of these days, they're gonna have to answer to Him for it. That's the kicker right there. No matter how high and mighty someone thinks they are, no matter how much they puff themselves up, they're still just human. They're still just a pile of dust and bones in the end, just like the rest of us. And they've got a big wake-up call coming their way. See, that's the thing about eternity. It's the great equalizer. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. Rich, poor, good, bad, we've all got eternity waiting for us. There's no escaping it. And eternity, man, that's heavy stuff. I mean, can you really wrap your head around it? Can any of us We're so used to everything having a beginning and an end. But eternity? That's a whole different ballgame. It's like trying to picture the edge of space. Our brains just aren't built for it. I think that's why that story about the bird and the mountain hits so hard. It's taking this giant, abstract concept and putting it in terms we can sort of grasp, even if we can't fully comprehend it. It's like, okay, I may not be able to imagine eternity, but I can imagine a really, really, really long time, and that's about the closest I'm gonna get. So yeah, Deuteronomy 29:29 and that bird metaphor, they're both reminding us of our place in the universe. We're not the center of it all, even if we like to act like we are sometimes. There are bigger things at play, things we can't always see or understand. And that can be scary, but it can also be kind of freeing, in a way. It means we don't have to have all the answers. We can let go of that need to control everything. Because in the end, it's not up to us, it's up to God. And He's got it handled, even if we can't always see how. So, maybe instead of fighting that truth, we lean into it a bit. We accept that there's some mystery to this life, some things we just gotta leave in God's hands, and we trust that He's got a plan, even if it's one we can't fully see yet. It's not an easy thing to do, I know. Pride's a tough thing to swallow. But if we can manage it, if we can get comfortable with not always knowing everything, not always being in control, I think it can lead to a lot more peace in the long run. We're not God, and that's okay. He's got this. We can rest in that. Even when the world feels like a hot mess, we can know that eternity is coming, and God's gonna make it all right in the end. You know, when you really think about it, this whole idea of God having secrets, it's a tough one to swallow. I mean, we're talking about the big guy upstairs, the one who's supposed to have all the answers. And yet, here we are, with this verse telling us straight up that there are some things only God gets to know. It's like a cosmic need-to-know basis, and apparently, we didn't make the cut. But you know what? Maybe that's not such a bad thing after all. Let's be real. Life can be a real kick in the teeth sometimes. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people. It's enough to make your head spin, and if we're being honest, would we really want to know all the reasons behind it? Would we want to carry that weight? I think about all the suffering in the world, all the injustice and cruelty. It's easy to look at that and say, hey God, what gives? I thought you were supposed to be in control here. But maybe, just maybe, there's a reason we don't get to see the whole picture. Maybe it's a mercy, in a way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should just shrug our shoulders and accept all the bad stuff that happens. We've still got a responsibility to fight against evil and stand up for what's right. But at the end of the day, we've got to recognize our own limitations. We're not all-knowing, all-powerful beings. We're just fumbling through this life as best we can. And that's where faith comes in. It's about trusting that even in the midst of all the chaos and confusion, there's a higher power at work. It's about believing that even when we can't see the whole story, God can. And not only that, but He's weaving it all together for a purpose. It's like that old saying, everything happens for a reason. Now, I know that can be a controversial statement, especially when you're going through hell. It can feel like a slap in the face to suggest that there's some grand plan behind your pain. But maybe the point isn't that God causes our suffering, but that He can use it for something greater. I think about all the heroes of the faith, the ones who went through unimaginable trials and came out the other side stronger. People like Job, who lost everything but never lost his faith. Or Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers but ended up saving an entire nation. Their stories are a testament to the fact that God can take even the darkest chapters of our lives and turn them into something beautiful. But it's not easy. It requires a level of trust and surrender that goes against every instinct we have as humans. We want to be in control, to have all the answers. But the truth is, we're not God. We're not infinite or all-knowing. We're finite, flawed beings trying to make sense of an infinite, perfect God. And you know what? That's okay, because at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about Him. It's about recognizing that He's the one in charge, even when it feels like everything is spinning out of control. It's about trusting that He's got a plan, even when we can't see it. So yeah, the secret things belong to God. And maybe that's frustrating sometimes. Maybe it feels like we're being kept in the dark. But I think it's also an invitation to let go of our need to have it all figured out and just trust, to lean into the mystery and the unknown, knowing that we're held by a God who is bigger than all of it. And in the end, isn't that what faith is all about? It's not about having all the answers. It's about believing in the one who does. It's about walking forward, even when we can't see the path ahead, trusting that God is leading us somewhere good. So when life gets hard and the questions start piling up, remember Deuteronomy 29:29. Remember that there are some things we just don't get to know, at least not on this side of eternity. But also remember that we serve a God who does know, who sees the whole picture even when we can't. And that's enough. It has to be. Because at the end of the day, we're just human. We're dust and ashes, here for a moment and then gone. But God, He's eternal. He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And He's got this whole thing in His hands. So we can rest in that. We can find peace in the midst of the chaos, knowing that there's a higher power at work. We can face the unknown with courage, trusting that God is with us every step of the way. And yeah, it's not always going to be easy. There will be times when we doubt, when we question, when we wonder why things happen the way they do. But in those moments, we can cling to the truth of who God is. We can anchor ourselves in His love and His faithfulness, knowing that He will never leave us or forsake us. Because that's the beauty of faith. It's not about having it all together or knowing all the answers. It's about trusting in the one who does. It's about walking with God through the valleys and the mountaintops, knowing that He's got us in the palm of His hand. So when the secret things start to feel overwhelming, when the weight of the unknown starts to crush us, let's remember Deuteronomy 29:29. Let's remember that we serve a God who is infinite in wisdom and understanding, even when we are not. Let's remember that His ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And let's hold on to that truth with everything we've got. Because in a world that is constantly shifting and changing, in a life that is full of uncertainty and fear, God is the one constant. He is the rock on which we can stand, the foundation that will never crumble. So let's lean into Him. Let's trust Him with the secret things, with the unanswered questions and the unresolved pain. Let's walk with Him through the valleys and the shadows, knowing that He is with us every step of the way. And let's look forward to the day when all will be revealed, when every question will be answered and every tear will be wiped away. On that day, we will see Him face to face, and we will know, even as we are fully known. But until then, let's live in the truth of Deuteronomy 29:29. Let's embrace the mystery and the unknown, knowing that we are held by a God who is far beyond our understanding. Let's walk by faith and not by sight, trusting that He is working all things together for our good and His glory. And let's rest in the knowledge that no matter what life throws our way, no matter how deep the valleys or how dark the shadows, we are never alone. We are never without hope. We are never beyond the reach of a God who loves us with an everlasting love. So take heart, my friend. The secret things may belong to God, but His love and His grace belong to us. And that is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything.